Hello everyone, and happy Halloween from Unicom Productions. I'm your cruise director, Kristen. While we're going to try to keep things light this time, this is a mall with owners some might call pretty scary. They allow many of their malls to turn into houses of horror and then let them stand like zombies, completely vacant and rotting. It could be said that Columbia Place is the crown jewel in their portfolio, but it's only about half occupied and has 4 out of 5 anchors vacant, so yeah, that's kind of where we're at, and we'll talk about that more later. Honestly, it's a shame about this mall because it's actually very appealing visually. The ceilings and the curved staircases are gorgeous, but just look around at how many light bulbs there are burnt out and how dirty the carpeted areas are. This mall would look great in the right hands. Columbia Place Mall opened as simply Columbia Mall in 1977. It was developed by the Richard E. Jacobs Group in a joint venture with Kahn Development Corporation, so she came with quite the pedigree. It was originally anchored by Belk, JCPenney, Sears, and a Riches that opened a few months after the rest of the mall. Jacobs and Kahn held on to the mall until 2001, when it was purchased, like most of the Jacobs portfolio, by Chattanooga-based CBL Properties, and its name was changed to Columbia Place along with a remodel. The current look of the mall is pretty typical for early aughts CBL malls, especially the signage. And again, it's very pretty. I love the look of this mall. To lay out the retail landscape in Columbia, Dutch Square, which we talked about in our last video, is only a few miles from here. The area in which the two malls are situated is what is called an inner ring suburb, which means that it was the first bit of suburban expansion outside the city core, and in the convening years has since become considered part of downtown as the suburbs have sprawled outward and the homes in the area have aged and become occupied by more working class people. In general, new development in outer suburbs tends to skew more upscale. Richland Mall reopened in the late 80s as an L.J. Hooker-designed 2-story palace of a mall, and there were worries at the time it would devour both Columbia Place and Dutch Square. Columbiana Center, which seems to be the most upscale mall in town, opened in 1990 and isn't far from here either. Columbiana is holding its own. By 2007, however, Richland only had 30 of its roughly 100 spaces open and has since closed, and Columbia Place was sitting at around 110 of their 125 spaces. I think we have CBL to thank for that. The 2000s were the time when they were in the best shape, and most of their malls were doing pretty well at the time. It didn't last, though. CBL held onto the mall until 2013 when they allowed it to go into foreclosure. For the following year, the mall was managed by Spinoza Real Estate Group, and then after that, the mall was purchased by... Okay, buckle up, Buttercup, because I'm about to be uncharacteristically not nice for me. The mall was purchased in 2014 by Moonbeam Capital Investments, a Las Vegas-based firm that does not have a good reputation, to put it lightly. Over their time attempting to be a mall company, they have owned 10 malls. Of those malls, 6 are now permanently closed, and at least 2 of the ones that are still open fall firmly into the dead category. At least one of them is a public safety and environmental hazard embroiled in legal trouble with its local government. So let's go down the list of their casualties, shall we? Some of these names you know well. They're not just dead malls, they're the dead malls. Not just dead, stunningly, tantalizingly dead. Century 3 Mall in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. Shopping Town Mall in DeWitt, New York. Cortana Mall in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Burlington Center Mall in Burlington Township, New Jersey. Gwinnett Place Mall in Atlanta, Georgia, and Five Points Mall in Marion, Indiana. All malls purchased by Moonbeam to great aplomb and ambitious announced plans of being turned into shopping entertainment hybrids taken from struggling to permanently closed in less than 5 years. You'll notice the banners around the mall, fun, fashion, and dining. That's sort of their trademark, and they're very proud of those banners, and they love to unfurl them as they roll into town and even occasionally get tax breaks based on the promises they don't ever seem to keep. I'm not asking for the world here. I just wish they'd replace some of the light bulbs and maybe have the rug doctor take a trip across those carpets and for God's sake pay your taxes. Moonbeam, if I can be so blunt, is like a new boyfriend who promises you the world and then 6 months later you're begging him to pick up his dirty clothes off the floor, and I'm totally gonna do it, babe, I promise, but I'm doing a raid right now and I can't pause it. Can I borrow $50? I'm totally gonna help you just as soon as I unglue myself from this couch. Can you make me a sandwich? No, Moonbeam. Make your own damn sandwich. I'm pretty sure there's some people outside Pittsburgh who'd love to give some Moonbeam execs a knuckle sandwich, and maybe one particular woman who lives in West Virginia, too. You know what else was sort of a moonbeam? The Death Star. They're the Death Star, I said it. Columbia Place is among their better performing properties, and it's heavily mortgaged to fund Moonbeam's legal bills in their fight with places like DeWitt, New York, and West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, and they've got a legitimate axe to grind. If Moonbeam was left to their own devices, someone was going to die in Century 3. I cannot emphasize how much of a hazard that place has become, and now the city is left holding the bill to demolish it, and she needs to come down. They're not as prolific as other mall owners I've criticized before, like Cohen and Namdar, but they would be if they applied themselves, and they've done enough damage. The only comfort is they seem to be done buying malls, and now most of their portfolio is residential and office properties. Residential. Can you imagine these guys being your landlord? At any rate, Columbia's Place seems to be hanging in there, especially now that their two biggest competitors are either closed or on their last legs. I just hope that Moonbeam gets bored with it and sells it to someone who actually cares what happens, and that the people here on the ground working every day aren't harmed by their negligence. I think that's why these kind of mall owners bother me. Their malls are filled with small businesses. They're not screwing over other corporations, they're screwing over someone's aunt and her handmade soap store, and that just doesn't sit right with me. I've said it before and I'll say it again, struggling malls are at their best when they serve as small business incubators. Thanks for hanging out with me on Halloween, folks. As always, I'm your cruise director, Kristen, and this is Unicom Productions. We'll see you next time.